This is our backyard. It's a bit of a mess and in desperate need of a refresh. I've made some modifications over the last 2 years, but the focus has been on the new building. Now that construction is complete, I can shift my focus to this new area. We want to clean up the clutter, simplify the landscaping by adding a bunch of grass, and overall just make it more inviting. This is going to be the last major renovation for at least the next 5 years. Or at least that's what the boss lady tells me. So let's get started. There's a bunch of concrete, trees, brick, and other stuff that we need to clear out. It would take me way too long to do on my own. So I hired a professional demo crew to come and clean slate the yard. This is the same crew that came a few years ago and cleared the land for the new workshop. Now, I would normally show you a time lapse of the demo, but my camera failed, so I'm just going to show you what I have. I salvaged a bunch of the loose brick because I had a plan to reuse a bunch of them in a few different spots. Some of the major things to go were the trees. These guys used their dozers to just take them out like they were twigs. After they did their thing, they graded the dirt as well to get it pretty close to where it needed to be. Alright, moving right along. I rented a tiller to loosen up the dirt as best I could. This ground is mostly clay, so it's quite dense and difficult to churn up. This thing was working hard, but the ground was fighting back. At first, it was pretty dusty, so I wet it down. After a bit, I was able to get a second set of hands running the hose, so that helped with being able to dig down a bit deeper. There were a ton of rocks and roots all over the place. They say you're supposed to dig down about 6 to 8 inches, but there were some areas where I was only able to dig down 3 or 4 inches. It's all good, I just kept trucking on. After the first round of tilling, I combed through the dirt and pulled out a bunch of large rocks, sticks, and solid chunks and tossed them aside. They didn't need to be there. I had previously picked up a few cubic yards of new soil. This is a gypsum mix that is supposed to help amend the clay soil. Exactly what I'm trying to do here. I had a few yards piled up on the concrete, so while I still had the tiller, I used it to mix it in. I spread a bunch of it all over the ground, watered it down, and tilled it in sections at a time. As I worked the tiller, I kept my eye out for any rocks or sticks to be tossed aside. I only had the tiller for one day, so I used it on the tougher sections of ground. The soil in this area on the far left side of the yard was much softer than the rest, so I felt much more comfortable mixing in the gypsum by hand. As I raked the dirt, I started working on smoothing it out and setting the grade. I identified any high areas and moved that dirt to the low areas. I tried to eliminate any rolling hills and made sure that the excess water during a crazy rainstorm will run in the desired direction. This other area also needed to get worked smooth as well. It's a big area to work with a 3-foot wide rake, so I came up with a system to assist in making it easier. I used bungees to hold a heavy chunk of stone to the bottom of the rake. This helped it dig into the dirt with its own weight, so I could just drag it around the yard. I did lap after lap until I felt that it was at a good place to move on. This is a hose bib that I reconnected recently and thought that I'd hardly ever use, but it's come in handy during this backyard reno to wash off before going inside. Okay, I took a few days off from dirt work to do some bricklaying. I had a stack of about 1,100 bricks to use or lose. I added a brick walkway around the workshop that I covered in another video. One of the things the demo crew got rid of was a large planter in the center of this brick circle. I made it as flat as I could and followed the existing pattern to fill it in completely. I think the plan for this spot is to make a very large outdoor dining table. I don't know, TBD. I had previously had some unfinished bricks stretching out front of the gazebo. I had plans to finish it, but never got around to it. Now, I had no excuses. I had to get it done. I modified the design to push it out a bit further. This required a lot of diagonal cuts. It's not too difficult, just time consuming. Both of these new sections of brick were set and power washed. I used a polymer sand to fill in all the gaps and wet it down. When this stuff gets wet, it activates it and makes it solid, locking the bricks in place and keeping them from wobbling around. There's still some leftover and cut bricks. Not sure what I'll use them for, but I'll figure out something. From earlier planning, I pretty much knew where the edge of the lines of the grass would be, but I used stakes and string to officially mark it out. I'll be moving on to the sprinklers in the next part, so having the grass edges clearly defined is super important. Okay, that's it for now. See ya.